Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast helping your family cruise a little smarter. And it's just me again, Chris, and Christy are off exploring the weekend. Chris just had her birthday. And so it's me doing the trip report, but I'm super excited to do this one because I think people from our podcast are tired of listening to old guys like me. We're going to bring some youth onto the show today. And I'd like to welcome all the way down in Oklahoma to the show, Mytala. How are you doing today, Mytala?
I'm doing fantastic.
Well, thanks for reaching out. I think it's fun to have people like you, and I'll let you talk about who all went, that are a little bit younger, that love Disney Cruise Line and want to come on and talk about it. So once again, welcome to the podcast. And why don't you give a little bit of a background to our listeners of how you got into Disney, kind of your Disney fandom, and how'd you find Disney Cruise Line?
Yeah. So ever since I was little, my mom would get tapes on what's it called now, VHS, and so I just had like a whole collection, a whole library of Disney movies. I mean, I was playing them every day. I knew Aladdin by every line by the time I was 5. And so that just really sparked like my knowledge and my love for Disney. As I grew up, I never had the chance to go to any of the parks, any of the cruises. And so my first actual Disney experience was when I was an adult. And so I was able to go on a cruise with my mom, and we went on the Disney Fantasy 7-night. It was the most fantastic time. I went to Disneyland with my mom and then one of my brothers and his family. And that was absolutely amazing. And then it was like, okay, so I can totally do this whole Disney adult thing. Before there was really a term Disney adult we've been learning and hearing about the last couple of years. And so I just told myself, if I could try to go to Disney just as feasible as possible, I would love to. So I'm a teacher. So the best times for me to go to Disney would be anytime there's a break, but then there's a downfall because those are the busiest times of the year too. Yeah. So it led me and my best friend and my cousin to doing the Cruise on the Dream, because when my mom and I went on the Fantasy back in 2016, I said, this is the absolute best ever. I love the parks, but there's just a different love for the cruises because you get to kind of vacation too, and you're resting and relaxing, chilling and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, it brought me to the Disney Dream this year in 2022.
I love that. Well, no shame in being a Disney adult. I think we're all, Disney adults at heart. And I'll throw you to I think there's several 80s documentaries where you can go back and learn all about VHS and the technology and everything like that. So I'm just messing.
I love that.
I haven't heard VHS for a long time. But I love that. So you've been to Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Which one do you like better? Put you on the spot there.
Disney World.
Okay.
I love the concept of all of the different, just the different experiences you get. And it's okay, so I kind of want to, be with the animals today, or do I want to go drinking around the world? And I just love the different, you're going to kind of see certain characters in the different parks, and then just the different atmosphere it all provides. So I would say Disney World. However, Disneyland, I just feel it's a little more intimate. And so sometimes seems a little bit nicer. I've only been one time, but it seems a little bit nicer to just take your time, and then you're not stressing out trying to get to all the 4 parks in your vacation time, especially if it's shorter.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that Disney Cruise Line is a little bit more relaxing, or you can make it more relaxing than the parks. And the thing that I like about it is you get to go somewhere too, which is kind of cool.
Exactly.
So before we jump into this cruise, I got to put you on the spot one more time. Favorite Disney movie growing up, or favorite princess?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Favorite princess is Rapunzel. Okay. She is the epitome of me. I'm actually wearing a purple dress today. It might look a little bit white on the Zoom camera. And then favorite Disney movie, it's really a tie between Aladdin and The Lion King for such different reasons, but I love them both, so I don't think I can pick.
I love that. Rapunzel. Nobody can see it right here, but you've just about got her hair too.
I know, right? Yeah.
And with the Disney Wish, she's on the back of the Disney Wish. So that means you're gonna have to sail onto that.
No, exactly. It's so that's my plan to go sail on that one next.
All right. Well, let's turn to this cruise itself. So it was a 4-day cruise at a Port Canaveral on the Disney Dream. You guys went to NASA, Castaway Cay, and then had a sea day, which I think is the perfect 4-day itinerary if you're going to do it, because I love that sea day at the end. So it was you, your best friend, and your cousin. How did you guys decide? I mean, who came up with the decision to go on this cruise and in the planning, did you guys kind of all work together, or was there one person that kind of led the planning?
Okay, so just a little preface. My best friend and I, we absolutely love traveling. Like we've had the amazing opportunity, like we're in our mid late 20s, we're both 26. We had the amazing opportunity to go to Europe and like go on a study tour in college. And so we are huge, like we love to travel, we love to vacation, plan, that's our thing. Probably about this time last year, I said, okay, it has been way too long. I need to go on another Disney cruise. So I said, I will do whatever I can, to make ends meet. Remember, I am a teacher. I said, it is time for me to go on another Disney cruise. I actually don't care who comes with. And then she was like, well, you've been talking about it for all of these years since 2016. And since I've known you, and I love Disney too. And we were like, let's do it. And so I went through like asking some of my family members, like my mom and aunts and uncles, cousins. But then one of my cousins, he was like, I'm the next biggest Disney fan in the family. He was like, absolutely. You kind of just tell me that price point and I'm going to work it out to see if I could go. So then it was initially me, my best friend hooked on, my cousin said, I'm in. And then now we have the three of us, kind of walking through like, okay, let's do it. So the first thing we had to do was actually say, well, with the teachers, we need to make sure we're not going during the school year. We looked at prices like ourselves first, and we said, okay, it looks like that May timeframe just has a really good like date to budget balance. We just went from there.
I will say that teachers are not paid enough for what you do, having kids ourselves. And so I do appreciate that. And I mean, I guess the good thing is the tough part too, is like you said, you get to travel when everybody else is traveling with like us and our kids and everything like that. But hopefully, did you find that traveling in May was just a little bit cheaper? Did you look into the summer as well?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of a good price jump from the end of May, like when around the 20th,
right,
to like June 1st and beyond, and so it was like, okay, so then we were like really looking at the dates. So school ended for us, I think it would have been Friday, if I'm thinking of the date correctly, Friday the 20th, and we flew out Saturday the 21st.
Get out of town fast.
We were like, we are not playing. Let's go. Let's get out. And so we ended up going through a travel agent, and it was an okay experience. But then what we did was we kind of did like background information of like, okay, what do we really want to do? And how are we going to make the most of our time? Because we said, if we travel to Orlando, we don't just want to do the cruise to spend all of that money to fly, because flying from Oklahoma to Orlando is sometimes not cheap within itself. And so we said, well, let's go some days before the cruise, enjoy the park. And then we were just like, we sat down and said, okay, which park? And we all three agreed on Hollywood Studios. And then we said, okay, so the Disney Dream just had the best dates with it, and it just worked out perfectly. So then once we had that set, talked to our travel agent, it's like we just kind of went back and forth of, where would we want to go? What do we want to eat? What's kind of our main thought process for the cruise? Like, enjoy definitely the stops we're going to do, but we also want to enjoy being on the ship as well. And so we all went into that mindset, and then it just kind of laid itself out really beautifully.
Well, it worked out, having a good agent like that can kind of lead you through that. And then the three of you kind of working together came out with a good plan. So
yes.
You guys head down to Orlando, and I know that you guys went to Hollywood Studios, as you said. Are you guys Star Wars fans, or why did you guys pick the studios?
Okay, so this is absolutely embarrassing, and I almost don't want to say it, but
it's okay.
I'm probably like the least Star Wars fan. And it's not because I'm just like, oh, Star Wars. Like, no. I just think growing up, I didn't have that buddy to like help me appreciate and love Star Wars. And so, I'm kind of like, a fake fan. I don't want to say that, but but my best friend, she loves Star Wars. And then also Toy Story Land is so exciting for the three of us too. And so we were like, while we feel that we would have the greatest time. And I'm going to give you a little side note. I had the really cool opportunity to go to a teacher conference this past summer in June, and it was in Orlando. And so it was called Get Your Teach On. And since it's in Orlando, they give us some really cool perks to be able to get into the Disney parks. And so we got to have an evening at Epcot. So wow. Thinking ahead, we said, well, when we think about parks, we don't want to go to Epcot in May, Epcot in June. Of course, we would love that. But we said, why don't we try another park? That way we can kind of get two parks in one summer.
Perfect. Well, so you guys go to Hollywood Studios. Were you able to ride? Were you able to ride Rise? And I'm sure you were on Slinky Dog, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So of course, since we stayed at Pop Century Resort, so since we stayed with the resort, we got there ASAP before they opened the gates, rope drop. I forgot what it's called at Disney, and so we like literally were like the part of the crowd that was running to the Star Wars area, and we got to go on their newest ride, and so that was really really neat. And so we just got to take that whole area, and so we did Star Wars first, and then jumped right into Toy Story. And then after we like got all that done within like the first 2.5, 3 hours, because the wait times were not long at all. It was really nice. Then we just like, took our time and explored the rest of the park for the rest of the day.
What'd you think of Slinky? Was that the first time you'd been on it?
No, I actually went shortly after graduating college. My best friend and I, we went to all 4 parks in 2 days. And so we did the same thing, went straight to Toy Story Land, and we were able to, Toy Story Mania, Slinky Dog Dash. It was so fun.
I love it. And Rise, did you enjoyed Rise?
We did. Yes. Yes. Oh, it was the neatest experience. I don't want to say too much, to give it away, but the Star Wars fans will absolutely love it.
Staying at Pop Century too, that's a great resort because you're able to use the Skyliner. So
yeah, that was a really neat thing. Like we have to get on it twice. It stops like kind of halfway, and then it's like, okay, to get to Hollywood Studios, you ride it again. And so that was a really neat thing. So I'm like really glad that Disney incorporated the Skyliner as one of their transportation methods.
All right. Well, before we get to the port, anything else about the parks and your time there that you wanted to talk about? Any highlights for dining or anything like that?
No, actually, I don't think so. I feel like so sad. It was a little bit of a blip. I wrote some stuff down. Yeah, no, we enjoyed staying at Pop Century with the Skyliner. It was really cool. We went to Disney Springs the night of our arrival because we were like, let's just make the most of it. Uh-huh. And so it was really just like, instead of having such a set agenda, it was kind of like, let's just go and just what happens, happens. And so that was really neat. We really enjoyed that time before, and we're glad we took the time for it because it just like built up to the anticipation of our cruise.
So you'd been on the Fantasy before. What were you, or what did you plan ahead of time to do? Did you want to do adult dining? Did you plan anything ahead of time on this cruise before you actually sailed on it?
Yeah, so we did adult dining. We wanted to, and I was telling my friend about this because my mom and I did it on the Fantasy Palo brunch. And then it's like, we just keep hearing wonderful stuff about it. I'm part of a couple of Facebook groups, and one is specifically for like Disney Cruise Line, fans. So they're giving like these real-time updates as they're on the cruise or immediately after. And so they still were talking about Palo brunch. And I said, girl, we got to do it. And now it's like $45. And we were like, absolutely. So I'm excited to like get into the experience with that. We also just plan to do rentals for Castaway. And so that was neat. I'll kind of explain it a little bit later, but with Nassau, we looked ahead and we were thinking like, okay, if we decide to go to Nassau, maybe not really committing to anything just yet, and maybe just seeing like, what could we run into as we get off the ship. So we actually didn't plan for any type of excursion for Nassau.
I love that idea with NASA, just, getting off the ship or any port, really, in all honesty, just seeing what comes and see what you find. There's a lot to explore, and especially NASA, where you can walk off the ship and find things right there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So as far as planning, I think we were just kind of like, let's see what the dream has to offer, and we'll just go with it. So I would say the most that we probably planned were our outfits.
Oh, perfect. Well, we'll talk about those too. All right. So how did you guys get out to the port? Did you use Disney transportation, or did you find another way out there?
We did. We decided to do just Disney transportation, especially with staying on Disney property. Even if we hadn't, we were going to go to Orlando's airport, and we were just like, it's just like it helps like just with the anticipation of leading up, because otherwise we would have had to Uber since we flew in. And we were like, well, we'd rather have the experience, than having to figure out an Uber, who knows the traffic and everything. So that was really neat.
Better to be on that Disney Cruise Line bus heading out to Port Canaveral than.
Yeah. And they did say that we would be kind of one of the first boarding groups too. So that was a bit of a perk too with doing Disney transportation because of the time that they took us there. And then you don't pick a port arrival time, like online check-in wouldn't let us.
So did that work out? Were you out at the port pretty early then, or what time?
We were. So I felt, like when we got to the port, we were out there pretty early.
All right. Well, so you guys get out there, get on the Disney Dream. We won't go over the testing and everything like that, because obviously you went, so the tests were all negative, which is a good thing, right? So
we're high. Oh my God! But I will say just a little something, because I think they still do testing. The process was amazing, so just want to say that.
Perfect. So you've been on the Disney Fantasy before, getting on the Disney Dream, the sister ship. What was it like for the three of you to get back on that ship, or for the three of you to step on that ship the first time?
Yes. Okay. So with planning, I kept telling my best friend, I said, okay, I'm so excited. And of course, it's bringing back all of the memories from the fantasy. But I said, I promise that I'm going to do my best to not get too excited. I'm starting to tell you about what's going to happen before it happens. Because I was like, there could be some differences, but like us telling them our family name, I didn't want to necessarily tell them way ahead of time. I wanted it to kind of be a fun surprise because that's what my mom and I, like that was the experience for us. So when we stepped on, we were like maybe third away from them saying, hey, what's your family name? And I looked at them and I said, all three of us have different last names. We might need to come up with like a name we want to be called. So we decided to go with the Marvelous Three, like emphasizes on Marvel, because my cousin is, I kid you not, the biggest Marvel fan there is. Like he has all the encyclopedias, all the DVDs on Blu-ray of every Marvel movie ever made so far. He's impressive. Like it's really cool. I remember then when he said, Disney Cruise Line, please welcome the Marvelous Three. It was just like, wow. Like, and they literally just froze in their tracks and they were like, the ship is absolutely beautiful. And I don't care if that would have been my first time or 100th time. It was like, you still just felt like that magic inside of you. Like, whoa, we are here. And it's like amazing. And then you like look up and there's Mickey and Minnie.
And the smells and the music just hit you from the lobby as you walk in like that. It's just like coming home, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And you're just like, wow.
So what did you guys do first? So this is their first time sailing with Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did you guys do? Did you guys go explore the ship or did you guys want to go get some food? How did you want to share the ship with them?
Yes, it was a little bit of both because I told them, I said, hey, so we got there early enough where our luggage wasn't yet delivered in our staterooms. We weren't going to go in them yet. And I said, let's kind of like, look around, make sure like, we're all good and set. And then let's go have brunch or lunch, actually. And so we kind of like explored like downstairs. We got some pictures of Mickey and Minnie. And then we kind of like huddled and we were like, okay, so let's ask where they're doing brunch. And they were like, well, Animator's Palette has brunch now. And we were like, let's do it. Let's go. So we went down and went to Animator's Palette. And so, of course, that was like, oh my gosh, look at like the little figurines and the glass cases. And it was just like really exciting and like watching them, but then also having my own excitement. So we did brunch and brunch was really good. Like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was having a dinner feast because it was some type like of cut of steak and then like, potatoes. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be hungry for dinner? I mean, the answer is yes, but And so shortly after that, because what would have happened? I think we ended up actually going up to our stateroom so then we could freshen up, put all of our bags down. And then we were going to explore the ship all before the sail away party. And at that moment, I actually didn't know if like sail away party was still kind of a thing. But then I felt like I thought I heard people say that they were bringing it back. But then, of course, you can check the Disney Cruise Line app and then, it's like sail away party, 4 p.m. Oh, and before that, we did have to actually do our mandatory drill with the check-in. And I do like that process too. It wasn't like overcrowded. And there were a lot of cast members like just there to help guide you and help you like right on the spot. And so I like that process of how they now do the emergency drill.
Yeah, so much better than back in the day, going and standing out in the sun, waiting for
yes, like to go through that and everything. Yes.
Well, let's go to the stateroom then. It's a group of three. Did you guys have one stateroom, or what did you guys do for the stateroom?
We ended up splitting it up. Since my cousin was a boy, and then it's like me and my best friend were used to traveling together. We said, well, why don't like the girls have their stateroom and he can have his own? And that's kind of good because he does have a little bit more of an introvert personality. And so for a 4-night cruise, it's like he can just have his whole like, man cave of an area. So he had a guarantee stateroom. It was a veranda. And he was like, you guys, this is like the most amazing thing ever. Like he was like, he's like, I'm on an oasis. Just he enjoyed it. And then our stateroom was an ocean view stateroom. We were kicking ourselves just a little bit for not getting a veranda, but we said, you know what, next time. The wish has mainly verandas now, I think.
It does. Let's talk about the ocean. We haven't talked about an ocean view stateroom in a long time. Did you enjoy it with the porthole? Did you have one or two portholes?
Oh my gosh, we had one porthole, so it was really cool to just sit in there like some mornings, when it's like the ocean was just very calm and the ship was more quiet, so you're not like hearing any other noises. So no, I love the ocean view stateroom because I feel like you can just pull open the curtain and then you just have that big, beautiful view, you know? And then it's just like right there, but then, you know, it's all inside.
Yeah, and we were sitting in 1923 when we were on the Wish, and it had been a long time since I've like sat in a restaurant, and there's a huge porthole at the end of our table. So just watching the ocean go by. I think whether you have a veranda or an ocean view, if you can get either one of those, I think it's just amazing to be able to have that light come in and be able to just watch the ocean sail by. I mean, I just love that at the dinner time. So I could imagine you guys in your room, and there's like a little area where you can sit too, right? Usually
there is, exactly. Because I think we had one, like, you know, if we were to be like a 4-person party, you know, like where the bed folds down and then there's a bed that comes out. I forget what they call those. There's a name for that.
It's like a Murphy bed. Well,
a Murphy. Yeah, exactly. And so my best friend, she was really surprised with the split bathrooms. I said, girl, I know it's the best thing, right? You know, so then it was like, you know, in the tubs shower one, she had all of her stuff. And then in the toilet sink one, I had all of my stuff. And so it was just really nice with like the space and how it worked out. And then, you know, for us, it was like the area where you can sit. We had, you know, like all the makeup, our clothes, we completely unpacked. And then we put our luggage under our bed because you know how it's like that space.
Oh,
it
that's the best.
So nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. And those split bathrooms are amazing, especially if you're like, whether you have 2 people or 4 people like us, because it's me and the boys, and then my wife gets a whole bathroom by herself. I don't know how that works, but it works out great for everybody getting, you know, ready, you know, when you need to in the mornings or when you're getting ready before dinner and everything else. Okay. Let's talk about, let's turn to dining then. What was your guys' dining rotation? And being on the Fantasy, it's the same 3 restaurants. Which restaurant were you excited to go back to?
Ooh, the restaurant, I was excited. Actually, it was Enchanted Garden.
Really? I love that.
Yeah. It just has, I was going to say, my favorite thing that like you would not notice unless you just are very observant, which I'm not usually not that type of person, or you're told. And so on the Fantasy, I was told so I could share it with my best friend and cousin, is as the night goes on, if you watch the lights, the flowers open. And I was like, that is the coolest thing. I said, that's such a Disney thing. So it's like, I just love the feel you get in there. It really just feels so, I guess, majestic would be the adjective I would use. And just kind of so magical and just like peaceful. And I really love that. Yeah. So our first night was actually at Enchanted Garden. So I was like, what better way to start off the cruise?
And then where'd you guys go from there? Did you guys do animators or what did you guys, how did the dining rotation work?
Okay. So yeah, on the 4-night we did Enchanted Garden, 2 nights in a row at Royal Palace, and then Animator's Palette to end our night or end our cruise.
Okay. And how about your cousin and your best friend? What would you say is their favorite restaurants along?
Ooh, I feel like my cousin, his would definitely be Animator's Palette. My best friend, I'm trying to think, maybe a tie between Enchanted Garden and Animator's Palette. I kind of actually liked our seating better at Animator's Palette and Enchanted Garden more than Royal Palace, just because of like where we were. There's kind of like a little swirly line that divides. And I kind of felt like we were a little bit like in a corner, and it wasn't bad. We kind of had room, but I just felt like that probably wasn't my favorite experience. And so I definitely like the other 2, like where it's a little more roomy. You feel a little bit more centrally located. And so you kind of get the view of like the restaurants and just a better view than I think we got at Royal Palace.
Yeah, you kind of feel you're back in the corner rather than being in the middle of the vibe and everything like that.
Exactly. And it's like, I do love like just kind of that feel of like a little bit more high dining fancy, you know, like I felt that, you know, Belle could have been, you know, right around the corner. We're dining with them. But yeah, I would have to say the other 2 were definitely favorites for me.
Were they still doing the princesses walking through Royal Palace when you guys were there? No, that was sad.
No, I'm so sad. And actually thinking about it, I don't remember if they did it on the Fantasy, but they could have, and I might have forgotten.
I know they started it, you know, like once the ship started sailing again, they were kind of adding those touches where they have in one restaurant like Royal Palace, I think in Tritons and whatnot on the older ships, they would have the princesses come through. And then on a different night, they'd have the Fab Five come through. But I think they kind of gone away with that now, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We got to go back in time. Did you guys make it to the sail away party? Did you guys get up there?
Yes. Oh my God. It was like the most amazing thing. It was really, really cute. I'm glad that they still did that, you know, and so, you know, like all of them came and did dance and performed, and, you know, we're all over 21. So of course we said relaxing and drinking is kind of our, it's kind of like our, like, you know, main goal and just enjoying. And so the drink of the day, we heard it's actually, what is it, like nicely discounted. And so we made sure that every day we try to drink the drink of the day. And there was no day that we didn't love the drink of the day. So whoever's listening, I highly recommend every day. It's like $5 or $6. Get the drink of the day.
My wife's right there with you. So, I mean, nothing special than that. You get that nice little 20 or 30 minute, sail away party, and then you get your drink of the day, and then the ship starts moving. You start sailing out of Port Canaveral. What just a magical way to start the trip.
Exactly. Yes. And so it's just like partying with Mickey, dancing, hanging out. And then I think from there, we went to explore the ship and then made sure that we were ready for our show and dinner by the time. So it was like a really like cool, chill, but exciting first day.
All right. Well, you guys are 21. Let's talk about that a little bit. What were some of your favorite places to explore and spend time in the ship? Some of the lounges possibly, and maybe, the outdoor areas as well by the pool.
Ooh, okay. So I would definitely say the pool, the adult entertainment lounges. That was really fun. Yeah, like we took advantage of that. My best friend and I did. So I was glad that we did. The theaters. Oh my goodness, loved it. Kind of walking around, we loved, honestly, just like, being in the atrium and walking around because they had a lot of character experiences. So even though we're adults that are 24 and 26, it was just like still so exciting to kind of have that inner child in us and see all the characters walking around. But then also, knowing that we were going to go turn up and, do things like match your mate and have fun with crazy karaoke and all that stuff in the evening. And then we also tried to hit up a lot of trivias. And so that was kind of like where our sweet spot was, like with our age and just our likings, were like the trivias and the adult entertainment at night and hitting up the pool and kind of just watching whatever movie. And ice cream. We went to Vanilla Please a couple times.
So let's keep running with some of the shows you went to. Did you win trivia? What trivia did you have the best luck at? Okay,
super cool story. The first day we went to trivia, but I can't remember what time frame it was. I'm sure it was after lunch, and I think it was after the sail away party, but I can't remember. We did a Toy Story trivia, and mind you, we love Toy Story. And my cousin, who watches all the Disney movies, he's a huge Marvel fan. He has this insane memory. So I think there were 20 or 25 questions. And when we went over the answers, we got every single one correct.
Wow.
So we were winners. It was really fun.
Did you wear your Mickey medal with pride too?
Yes. It was really, really cool.
Man, I do not have the best memory when it comes to that. I think we do okay general trivia, but it is amazing, like your cousin, some of the people, how much information that they retain and can produce when you do these trivia. So I love that. Did you guys go to Match Your Mate?
We did. My best friend and I went to Match Your Mate. I'm pretty sure my cousin was in one of the theaters watching a movie. But yeah, no, we went to Match Your Mate. The host, he was absolutely hilarious. And, he adds to it because I feel that the host make or break a show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was phenomenal. And so that was really, really funny. A little bit of they might not have a fun night tonight, because the husband and wife would be in disagreement about something. But overall it was really fun and funny. We had a great time.
When we were in Greece, there was a couple up there. They were in their 80s, I believe, and their kids were in the audience. And after some of on the Facebook group afterwards, or at the end of the sailing or something like that, somebody put up there we're taking donations for the family, for the kids of the family whose parents are up there on Match Your Mate for therapy if they need it. Please feel free to donate. So
that's hilarious.
They do get some good questions and answers, and I think Disney's amazing with the hosts that they have to pull those off. So let's talk about the theaters themselves. Okay, so you saw some movies. Did you see? Did you see any first run movies that came out while you were on board the ship?
We did. So when we went, Doctor Strange had just came out earlier in May, and so they, how all of the nights they're going to have some type of show entertainment as part of that theater experience that couples with your dinner, whether it's right before or right after, depending on the dining time you have. And so one of the 4 nights was actually reserved for showing Doctor Strange. And so that was neat. So it was I was going to see it anyways, but of course I want to go see it on a Disney cruise.
And especially with your cousin too, such a huge Marvel fan.
Yeah, right. And they played it in the Walt Disney Theater. And so that was cool because I said, I didn't even know they had a screen to play movies.
It's huge too, right? It's a huge screen.
So, we got popcorn and relaxed, and yes, so we really enjoyed it.
Wow, the perfect night. So what about Beauty and the Beast? Were you able to see Beauty and the Beast?
Okay, so I have a little bit of a story with that because we knew that for the dream at that moment, Beauty and the Beast was like the show, that went along with the movie, like how the fantasy is. I think it's Frozen now, but when I went, it was Aladdin. So the first night, if it's okay, I can talk about all 4 nights. Okay, so the first night we did the Golden Mickeys, and this was my first time seeing the Golden Mickeys. It was brilliant. Like I loved the Golden Mickeys, like just the whole setup and like the why behind it. And then the second night was supposed to be Beauty and the Beast, but then they came on the intercom and said, Disney Cruise Line, we completely apologize for the inconvenience, but we are unable to show Beauty and the Beast. And so it was like so devastating because I said that was one of the things that was kind of about the dream was I was so excited to see Beauty and the Beast because for me personally, just having been on a cruise before, I'm like, of course, the experience of cruising, but the Disney cruise, I go because of the shows. And so that was like that big thing for me. And so it was really disappointing, but we saw Disney's Believe the second night. And I mean, it was awesome. I've gotten to see it before, but when it's like this was supposed to be Beauty and the Beast, it's kind of in the back of your head. You're just really sad, but it didn't take away from Disney's Believe. I mean, we were jamming and dancing and clapping, and it was like amazing. And then the third night was Doctor Strange. Well, the fourth night, they still hadn't said anything. And we were kind of like, okay, so maybe they're just not going to do a show. Maybe they'll just rerun the Golden Mickeys. And I was like, well, whatever it is, I still want to go if they do it. Well, kid you not, the day of, they had on the screen that Beauty and the Beast was able to play. So it was like, hallelujah, we got to see Beauty and the Beast. So it was like the best way to end the cruise because it was such a sad moment. And it was just like, you know what? Things happen. We get it. A lot's going on in the world right now. So it's okay. But, you can be disappointed. And so, but then to almost have it at the end, and it was like a surprise. And they were like, Disney Cruise Line, we're showing Beauty and the Beast tonight in the Walt Disney Theater. It was like, I just felt like my excitement just escalated more than it was before.
Oh, what a way to end the trip with showing a Beauty and the Beast. And I mean, just such a magical showing too, with all the way they do the stage and everything like that. I mean, you really feel like you're in the different scenes as they kind of go through that story.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, I think they had said, I don't know which reward it won, but it won an award. And then when you watch it, you're like, I see exactly why. Like it was out of this world amazing. They did a wonderful job with that production.
I love that. I'm glad that you guys were able to experience that because it's just an amazing show. So let's go to Palo Brunch then. What day did you pick Palo Brunch, or were you able to get Palo Brunch? And let's talk about your experience there.
Yes. Okay. So what we kind of decided, we woke up the morning of Nassau and we said, you know what? Since we ended up not doing an excursion, we actually said, well, Palo Brunch is at noon. And we made the executive decision kind of right then and there to say, maybe we just don't get off the ship. And, I've heard that some people might have mixed reviews about Nassau, like, don't get off the ship or, do and just explore and have fun. And that was our intention. But then once we were like, okay, we woke up, we said, really, we'll just kind of chill, wake up, and then just get ready for brunch. And so that's what we did. So we did it the day that we were in Nassau at noon. And so when we got there, the staff was extremely nice. They were just very hospitable and lovely. And then our server, and I hate that I forgot her name right now, but she was like absolutely amazing. She was very kind, very knowledgeable. She was like, I'm going to bring you guys some of the best spread that we have to offer on the ship. And she was absolutely correct. She talked us through, like the menu and how it works, kind of you can order what you want, or here are my recommendations. And then even giving a little history behind some of the dishes. It was just like an experience like no other. Like I actually, I didn't want to tell my mom this, but I actually enjoyed Palo Brunch on the Dream a little bit more than the Fantasy.
Oh, why is that?
It was actually our server. Yeah,
okay.
She was that phenomenal, and then I just felt that because she stayed and she really like got to know us and made sure we were good. And, just was like, try this, try that. And then just, it's like we just felt really seen. And it's like everything that she brought out and recommended was really, really good. And so we just really enjoyed it.
What was your entree that you had? Of course, you can get, like several different ones. I know people talk about chicken Parmesan. What did you guys get?
Okay, I got the veal. I can't remember exactly what the other two got, but I remember I got the veal because she recommended it. We even got like the Mickey waffles to share because there's something different about getting them at Palo than like for breakfast. And so we walked through the whole course. I remember we got bread, we got the salad, but no, I was like, I hate that I can't remember, but I do remember getting the veal and I really enjoyed that.
How long did it take you? How long was your time in Palo Brunch? Was it like about an hour and a half or so? Do you remember?
I do not. I felt like it was almost 2 hours,
Okay.
but it was because we were kind of taking our time and chatting and just taking it all in, knowing that we were staying on the ship. We said, why rush? You know, like, of course, we'll respectfully leave when we need to.
Right.
We're like, we just don't want to like eat and just be rushing through the experience. So we really took our time, just had a lot of like one-on-one time with our server, and then just like really soaked in us three being on a Disney cruise because it was kind of like a surreal moment.
And what better setting too, with the big windows looking out over, the water and everything else back there in Pala. So, well, I'm glad you guys got to experience that. And that's one of the things that I've finally taken away after cruises is I listen to the servers a lot, especially in the main dining rooms when they recommend stuff, because even though it's something that maybe I don't think I want, generally they're pretty spot on as to what is fresh and good that day. So I like the veal worked for you too.
Yes. No, thank you. Yeah.
All right. So Nassau, you guys stayed on the ship. Did you feel like most people stayed on the ship then that day? Or was it pretty crowded after you got out of Palo?
No, this is going to be like a weird number. I felt like maybe 30% of people stayed on the ship. So where it was like, yeah, there could have been like a little bit of crowds, but it wasn't like crowded. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there definitely was people who were on the ship, but a lot of people got off. And so after Apollo, what we decided, we looked at each other, we said, do you want to take it slow and just kind of hit the pool day? And my cousin and I looked at each other. I said, yeah, I'm trying to get on the aqueduct here, man. And he was like, me too. And he ended up riding it, I think 7, 8, 9 times that day, because the lines were just that short enough. And so what was it playing? Big Hero 6 was playing on the screen, and we got there, got some awesome chairs, to see the screen. Then my cousin and I said, Aqueduct, let's go. So I'm like, whatever age you are, I highly recommend the Aqueduct. You have to go at least one time.
It puts a smile on your face, doesn't it? As you're going through the tube and everything like that, you look out over the ocean and you're sprayed by water. I just love that ride. So.
Exactly. Yep. And I will say that I had glasses on, and I think I ended up keeping my glasses on, and I could still ride it. I might have put them in my hand, but I can't remember. But it's everybody should ride it. We actually made some friends in line too. I think I made friends with a grandma who was going with her son and his family. And for that 30-minute wait, it's really nice to be able to talk to people when you can no longer see the screen for the movie. So yeah, it was a great experience all around. Everybody was just really kind. We got the drink of the day, that $6 drink of the day. My best friend, she went tanning. She, went to the long chairs that lay down versus the sitting chairs. And then we went and dipped into the pool. And so, yeah, there were kids swimming around us, but it's kind of we're all in our own space and just enjoying. And then we kind of got a little bit more suntan, and we were like, yeah, we're just taking it easy. So we were out there almost all day after the Palo brunch. So it was really neat.
Oh, I love that idea of a relaxing day. I told my wife the next cruise we go on, we're going to have a relaxing day instead of go. Because there's so many things to do on a cruise. You feel like you're going to miss out sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because the hardest thing for us was okay, do we do this drawing or do we go to this, Lion King trivia? And so that's what got us, because, it was kind of the onboard entertainment stuff. It wasn't the shows or anything, but it was those things where you can go into a lounge or one of the bars and just do a trivia. That was kind of a highlight for us to attend. So there were a lot of times where they kept overlapping. We were like, crap.
Well, let's turn to the next day. Then you get to go to Castaway Cay, Disney's private island. You've been there before. What did you want to? You guys had a couple of rentals booked and everything like that. What was that day like? And what did your cousin and best friend think of the island?
Oh my gosh! I think they were completely in awe. So we got off the ship, and we actually got off the ship different times, because remember, my cousin's in a different stateroom. So he was doing his own manly stuff. But my best friend and I, we were let's get up, let's change, because when we go on vacation, we're let's not waste time, not really waste time, but let's not use our time sleeping in when we could be enjoying other things to the fullest extent, because we can. So we got off the ship and immediately went down to the adult beach area. And so we kind of talked about it, and we were well, we're teachers. So really taking this cruise right after school and actually having the option to not be around a lot of kids, that was our jam. So we actually got some really good chairs, and that's when we got our floating tube rental. And we spent, I kid you not, from what can you get off the ship, 8, 9 a.m. all the way to 3:55. at Castaway. And so, we did some tanning, did some swimming, some lounging in the pool and everything, kind of almost drifted away past the boundaries, but we were fine. And then we actually met up with my cousin for lunch. And so then we all ate the barbecue. Barbecue was absolutely amazing. The best assortment of fruit, had some ice cream. And then we were like, all right. And then we all just went back to the adult only area to swim and tan and chill for probably 2.5 more hours. And then after that, we did our bike rentals. And then we got to bike a little bit all around Castaway. And then we ended up with a little bit of shopping, and I wanted to get my mom a gift. And so I got her a beach towel there. And so because she loved Castaway, that was her big thing too when we went on the fantasy. And so it was just a perfect day.
I love the vibe of that island. And I think it gets a little bit of a knock now as some of the newer islands have so many more big water slides and everything like that. But I, for one, love the fact that it's just kind of a low key chill day that you can.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Just enjoy it. Enjoy being there, because I'm I'm kind of if you want all the slides, there are water parks for a reason, because I feel that's just a difference between going to a beach to relax and enjoy with your family versus you're going to a water park that's an amusement park kind of thing. And so I agree with you. I'm I just like that whole low key tone and everything. That could be the adult in me, I don't know, but it was just really nice to be able to enjoy that. And then when it's you're with your best friend and you're making more memories, how cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend a cruising.
No, you're and no shade on you whatsoever as you walked by the family beach with a smile on your face, waving bye, I'm going to the adult beach.
Right. Ooh, crying kid. I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, that's your problem today. I'm going to go enjoy myself.
Yep. I had to deal with that all the way from August to May. This is my time off.
I love it. All right. So you get back on the ship and then you get a sea day that last day, which I love, because when you cast away, we've said this about a million times. I think most people agree with this. When you do cast away that day, you're out there till 4:00. Then you got to get back. You got to pack.
Yeah.
The cruise ends so fast.
Yes. Can I add one more thing for Castaway?
Yeah.
For Castaway, that was the night that we had Pirate Night. And
I forgot about that.
No, you're good. I was I couldn't confirm if there was actually Pirate Night on the ship because so many people said yes. And then other people were like, no, they don't do it right now. And I was like, well, I guess we're just going to have to go and see. Whatever happens, happens. And so, no, they did Pirate Night. We had our little bandanas that they give us in our stateroom. And that was really fun too, the whole production. And then you go to dinner, come back, and then the fireworks show. And we had a good view and everything too. So that was really, really neat. We enjoyed Pirate Night. We were dancing and everything too.
I'm glad to see they brought that back. And being able to see fireworks at sea is just something magical about that. Was it set to the Pirates in the Caribbean music? Is that what they had going on then?
They still had, okay. Because I know a lot of been going on with that. So I was curious to say okay, would they, but yeah.
I think once the pirate party started again, the actual deck party, then they put the music back to, and I love that at night with there's something, I love that music just in general. And so with the fireworks, it's magical.
No, exactly. And I remember the first cruise, someone, it could have been a worker, had told us, they were like, yeah, the fireworks that they use is it biodegradable? So then it's actually safe to land in the ocean. I said, of course Disney would. This is why I love Disney.
Allegedly, the fish can eat them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard too. They were like, yeah, the fish can just eat that. I was like, of course they could.
Of course they can do that.
Disney. That's what I paid for. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we do. No, you want to support companies like that, and it's good to see them do. I hate to say the right thing, but it's good to see them do, the right thing with the environment like that, as far as shooting off fireworks. So, all right. So you guys get your day at sea. What did you get? How did you guys spend, or how did you want to spend that last day at sea?
Okay. So we decided kind of on a whim, let's do that midship detective agency, because at first I had the whole idea. It's okay, maybe it's just for kids, and, when you kind of think a Disney cruise, some people just have the lens up. Isn't that really all for kids? And it's not. But then with the midship detective agency, it's well, maybe that a little bit is. But we went and there was a father and a son who said, we just finished. You guys can take this. And they were helping us out. And we chose which one to do. So we were well, let's kind of do this for a chunk of our day. The really cool thing, and I felt that I've heard people talk about it with Disney and the whole COVID thing, since you can't actually go up to the characters and hug them right now on the ships, they had so many characters, just walking around at random points. So while we were doing the midship detective agency, we came, like, we were in, like, it felt like a corner because it was like on the elevator, but it was like a little section and then it led outside. But it wasn't on like one of the main decks with a lot of traffic flow. It might have been like deck 4 or 5 or 6. And then all of a sudden here came a cast member and Minnie. And we were like, hey, Minnie. And so we just got to stop and just chat with her. And it was just the coolest thing. And so, you know, we were just like joking about like one of the midship detective agencies with her. And she was like the cutest ever. And so there were a lot of other character interactions too, just like throughout our ship. They were bringing on all of the princesses galore, all of the characters galore. And there would be times where we're just walking around and we look up a couple balconies in the atrium area and we're like, oh my gosh, that's Daisy. And then it's like, she just stops and like, we'll wave. So we even got to like see Donald by just like walking. And then we were like, we think he's around this corner. And we're like, hey, Donald, can we get pictures? And they just take the time to like get the pictures and talk with you. And it was really, really neat. So I felt that last day we were just kind of like, okay, again, let's explore the ship, but let's see if we can just meet a ton of characters. So I got to meet Rapunzel. We got to meet Chip and Dale. And it was really cool because we saw Chip and Dale later and they remembered us, you know? And so, wow. Yeah, that was cool. Snow White and my favorite, Rapunzel. And I went into the whole tangent. I said, this is the first time I'm meeting you. I never get to see you at the parks. And I was just so excited. So that was like while we were walking around, what we did there. Again, that was the night we got to see Beauty and the Beast. So that was like really exciting too. And honestly, just eating a little bit more vanilla peas. I think my cousin, we actually didn't see him at all day until dinner. So again, he kind of went off on his own and he was like, I'm enjoying this day, just me and vibing and chilling. And so he had said that he went to the pool. I think that's when he rode the aqueduct 9 times. You know, and he just watched the movie, went swimming all day. He actually didn't go to the Beauty and the Beast production. He decided to stay out and watch The Incredibles 2 on the screen outside. And we were like, you know, that's really cool because then it shows like as we're even adults who are vacationing together, there are just so many different avenues for everybody to just do their own thing too.
Just coming through with your guys' vacation and so many other people's vacations. I mean, that's the best thing about Disney Cruise Line. You can go and do so many different things during the day that you want to do, but then you have those moments where you come back together, whether it's at breakfast in the morning or dinner at night. Sometimes you can kind of share those experiences with each other. So
yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, before we get off the ship, which unfortunately we always have to do, they find a way to kick you off at the end of a cruise for some reason. I just want to, you kind of touched on it just right there, but what makes Disney Cruise Line a great vacation for younger adults? Because a lot of people think of Disney Cruise Line as, you know, just families or younger kids or things like that. But what makes it a perfect vacation for younger adults as well? And I think you've kind of given us a lot of answers as we've gone along here. Yeah. But in your mind, I just wanted to ask you that question.
No, yes. So I was going to say, definitely, I think just the interactions that you get with the cast members and the opportunities that they give you to be able to, you know, say like, oh, do you want to learn to draw Donald? The adult entertainment, because I do feel like that's kind of a hook to just help all adults kind of go further into, because you can tell they spend a lot of time in purposeful planning with that adult entertainment too. And like you said, they're very good at hiring the host. Like they know that the host is going to be good and able to do their job, because both of the times on the Fantasy, on the Dream, our hosts were phenomenal. And they just brought that entertainment that it just meets the adult level. It doesn't feel like anything's watered down, you know, because you think of like, you know, a Disney cruise, it's like, okay, really adult entertainment. It's like, no, I mean, on the Fantasy, we had a whole woman like, you know, rip off her bra just for a scavenger hunt, you know, so if I can say that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so it's like, no, you really get to enjoy it. And then Disney is very purposeful with making sure that the adults have their time away from the kids. And so even on the ship, and that was another thing that we did on our day at sea, we went to the adult area or the adult only pool areas too. And so just the fact that they are very purposeful with making sure, okay, there's adult only dining, adult only pool area, adult only beach area at Castaway, adult only entertainment. It's like, okay, they're keeping the adults in mind, to me, almost just as much as the children. And then it's like, if you're going to spend the time and money to go on a Disney cruise, it's like, in my head, you don't have to be in love with Disney to the extent that us three are, but you have to, like, I'm sure you can have some liking for it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be repulsive, like, oh, I don't like Disney and go on a Disney cruise. So even like the entertainment that's for everybody, you get that joy and excitement that you just kind of don't experience when you're at home watching the movies, and so it's just like a different joy and excitement. And then you add on that vacation aspect on top of it. And so I'm the biggest advocate for it's for Disney adults too. It's for, the young adults all the way until your 80s and 90s, just as much as it's for the kids.
I love that answer. And deep down inside, we're all kids inside too. So what I love about Disney Cruise Line is you can have those, moments like in Palo where you're having this amazing meal and kind of really quintessential adult experience, having conversations, watching, the beautiful scenery and everything like that. But yet you can be a kid at heart and play with Daisy and Donald and everything like that as you're wandering around the ship doing the midship detective agency. So I think it's like the perfect blend. You can find whatever you want in it. And for those of us that, are still kids at heart, so I think it's the perfect way to vacation too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was going to say, I actually worked on a cruise line.
Oh, you did?
I used to work on a cruise line as part of their, child entertainment. And that was an amazing experience for itself. But I got a little taste of the entertainment offered. And I just really feel that Disney just does it differently and they do it very well. So definitely not knocking any other cruise line down. It's just, for what Disney does, they do it very well. I felt that with the cruise line I went on, they had the kid and the teen area, and that was really good. But then a lot of the entertainment I feel is a little bit just more slower paced, and it can be marketed a bit more towards your older adult, age group, so it's kind of almost like the mid adult or and young adult might not get left out. There just might not be as much to offer them depending on what you're looking for. And so I just feel like Disney does well with hitting kind of all ages, especially because it's looked at as a cruise for families with children, young children. And it's that's just not true. And I've heard of people saying they thought that and they went on a Disney cruise and they were totally turned around. And, I didn't think that. And I went on a Disney cruise and I was proved that, yeah, it's for all ages. I don't care. It's no, I'm going on a Disney cruise. I don't care how childish it looks. And it's just really not. And so I'm if anyone ever is curious, definitely try it at least once in your lifetime if you can, because I feel like you will leave just being a better person after that vacation that you never knew you needed.
I love that. I love that answer. And I love the way you frame that. Well, as we get off the ship, anything as far as the disembarkation process that stood out? Did you guys head straight back to Oklahoma after that? Or did you guys go back to the parks?
We went to straight back to Oklahoma. So in the morning, they assign you to one of the dining rooms to have your breakfast at. So we said, oh yeah, let's, take advantage of that. And so it was pretty soon after we were just off the ship, but the process was just very nice. Even if you go through customs or whatever, the process of getting off was very nice, except it's not nice because you don't want to go home and you're really sad to leave. But they just make it a really easy process. And you just no, we did the luggage drop off where you leave it outside your stateroom the night before. So we made sure that in our backpacks, our carry-on, we had all of our essentials, everything we needed and passports, that stuff. But then it was that night we talked to our stateroom host, which ours was so incredible. We loved our stateroom host. I think his name was Freddie. And he was just so kind, so nice, so giving, always there. And we were we're a little bit late, but can we still leave our luggage? He said, you leave it and I'll come get it. I'll keep watch. And we were thank you. That was really sweet. And so we just left it and then it was taken care of. So we didn't have to worry about it. So of course you're really sad, but they do make it a very smooth process getting off, just like getting on. And we flew home to Oklahoma.
Well, before we talk about what's next for you and possibly your friend and your cousin, everything like that, what advice would you have for future Disney cruisers, whether they've been either going the very first time or maybe, going on the dream for the very first time? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I would say for one, don't stress and don't try to do everything. Even if you are the pre-planner like I am, I'm a person that I like to kind of know what's going to happen ahead of time. So I'm the person who looks at people's blogs, I watch Disney cruise videos because I'm I want to make sure that there's no hidden thing I could have done. But some people are no, I don't want anything ruined. I want to know what the ship looks like when I get on the ship, not before. And whatever mindset you have, anything's okay. But I would say don't stress in the planning process. The next thing I would say is, it's not that it's controversial, but with packing clothes, I do overpack, but I try to keep in mind, don't overpack, but maybe just think 2 outfits a day. That's really nice. 2 outfits a day. for whatever reason, and then make sure you have at least one formal wear or semi-formal wear, and then something for pirate night, because there were a lot of adults dressing up for pirate night too. My next piece of advice, if you're able to make time for it, going to the parks beforehand was really nice. And the reason I think beforehand is because the parks are so fast paced. You're on your feet for like over 12, 13, 14, 15 hours during the day. And so when you start your vacation off and you have that adrenaline from traveling, you have the anticipation leading up to the cruise, it's nice to go fast paced all at first, do the parks, have fun, and then go on your cruise and relax, and so it's almost like a progression of starting so high with that high energy and then just being able to relax and let all of your worries slip away. Because a lot of us in our daily lives, it's high energy, it's fast, and we're always busy. And going to the parks can feel like that. Even though you're at vacation and you're having the time of your life, it's just busy. So then ending with the cruise, to me, would be like my big preference. Another thing I would just say, just to completely enjoy, think about how you took the time to get yourself to that point of going on a Disney cruise, and just soak in every moment. And it's okay if you don't get to everything. You can be purposeful with pre-planning and saying, yes, I definitely want to, go kayaking at Castaway, or I do want to go to like Atlantis when we go to the Bahamas. Or you can kind of just say, you know what, I'll just let it be as it comes along. And I think no matter which direction you go in, you're going to have the most amazing time, because of course, every experience is what we make of it. And so I just think just enjoying where you are and thinking in the moment. Last thing, take pictures, because I think you'll enjoy like having just those memories captured, because you're not on your phone and plugging away is really nice. Just being unplugged is really nice, but taking pictures too, because then when you just see the joy in your faces months, later, you just start remembering all of the great times you had, and then it prompts you for your next cruise.
Well, I love that. All great advice there. So speaking of the next cruise, what's next for you and possibly your best friend and cousin, or what's next for you?
No, kid you not, this past month, my best friend was sending me like from the Facebook group that we're part of. She said, girl, please look at this. And it was like somebody who had a little video of like the Frozen restaurant they went to. And she said, okay, girl, here's our next cruise. And she was sending me some TikToks too. And so I definitely think that whenever we can make a next cruise, because we're going to have some traveling in between that, it'll be the Disney Wish. And it's cool because I believe the Disney Wish is the next newest class. So it's like you just experience different things, and the whole setup, the whole theme, the whole atmosphere is different than the 4 first ships too. And so, it'll be the Disney Wish, unless one of the other 2 Disney ships that are going to come out before that, and we decide to go there.
Well, I think you guys are going to have a wonderful time on the Disney Wish, and I hope that sailing comes for you guys sooner than later. And I want to thank you so much today for coming on and sharing your experience sailing with Disney Cruise Line. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And from myself as a parent and from all the parents out there, a huge thank you for all you do as a teacher for helping our kids out there. And best of luck as the school year starts. I'll leave it for you. Any final words or any final thoughts about sailing with Disney Cruise Line? Or
Yeah, no, well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, because I just feel that my cousin and best friend might not have gone had I not talked about it. So I'm hoping that people hear it, like, my age group, or, anybody just hears this and they say, you know what, I'm hoping it inspires them to want to cruise on Disney, because it really is an experience like no other. So thank you guys for just taking the time for having me. And like I said, I say Disney does it really well for everybody. So no matter whether you're going with family or your best friends, like do a girls trip. My dream is to have my bachelorette party that one day I get married, is to have a bachelorette party with all my best friends. And we do a Disney cruise, even if it's a 3-night cruise, So just get out there, plan for it. Even if you only get to go once in your lifetime, it is absolutely worth it.
Well, we'll just leave it there at that. And I hope that your wish comes true there. Thank you so much for being with us again. And we look forward to talking to you next time you get off your next Disney cruise.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful weekend.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.